The Dodgers are not done making big moves, and that could affect the plans of the Seattle Mariners going forward. Plus, Jung-Hoo Lee got a big contract from the San Francisco Giants. Could the Mariners have given that to him? And also, we'll talk about some of the comments that reporters have been making about the Seattle Mariners, their front office, and their ownership right now. And spoiler alert, it's not pretty. Thank you for tuning in to episode 43 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network. I'm here with Joe. Joe, how are you?
I am doing very, very well on this Wednesday evening that we're recording. You guys are hearing this on Thursday. Happy Thursday to y'all. I just, the Dodgers are kind of pissing me off a little bit because they're doing what I want to do as far as, what my baseball team's operations are. And sure, will the Seattle Mariners ever be able to compete in this huge market that the Dodgers have created for themselves? Not necessarily, and I don't think many other teams would be able to either. There's probably, less than 5 teams in the MLB that could realistically do what the Dodgers are doing right now. And it's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. The rumors were circulating Tyler Glasnow and an outfielder. The original talk was Manny Margot. And then Randy Arozarena decided to just drop a little bomb on Instagram, post a picture of him and Shohei from the WBC. And then that started, everyone was like, oh, wait, is Randy a part of this deal? And I don't know. It does, I think, create a bit of a hiccup in the Mariners, I think, path to acquiring one of the Rays, either infielders, outfielders, what have you, because if they're busy talking with the Dodgers, they're probably not very interested in talking with the Mariners.
I Bleav Rosenthal said that Arozarena, as of right now, is not part of it.
Correct.
That obviously could change over the next, however many hours or days that this takes, if it ever even happens. I mean, Glasnow's making $25 million a year. The Shohei Ohtani contract, which we actually haven't even talked about, like the way it's structured, gives the Dodgers plenty of flexibility to go out there and get Glasnow, and even after that, go sign Yamamoto. And adding Manny Margot, I think he's making,
I think 10.
Or is it 10? Yeah, yeah, you're right. $10 million. Arozarena would be making 9. It'd be interesting to see the package that would be going back for those guys, because the Rays are smart. The Rays are very good at finding talent in the depths of your minor league system, ripping it out of your hands, and then using it against you in 4 years. But first, a word from our sponsor, BetOnline.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. If you want to place a parlay or just do a straight bet or even cook up a same game parlay, BetOnline is your place to go. They've got NFL, college football, UFC, and NHL, and they're all in full swing. So if you want to put some money down on the Hawks in their final stretch of the regular season, or maybe place a bet on the Huskies in the college football playoff playing in the Sugar Bowl, or even bet on some Kraken hockey, baby, you can do it on BetOnline. It's your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. They've got both desktop and mobile access at any time. So if you're like me and you're watching sports on the couch a lot, you can place a bet from your phone with ease. Head to BetOnline today and use the promo code Bleav. That's BLEAV for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Remember, BetOnline, it's where the game starts.
This trade specifically for the Mariners, if it was to happen, if Manny Margot went, it should not stop the Rays from trading Arozarena. Might make it a little bit less likely just because, they are down an outfielder at that point. I also don't know if with Pepwa, or how do you say it? Pepwa? Is that how you say it? Pepio? Is that how you say it?
I've been reading it as Pepio the entire time, so.
All right. Pepwa, he's like French. If he was to go back to the Rays, what kind of interest they would have still in some of the Mariners starting pitching. With that being said, I mean, starting pitching is always a commodity that everybody needs, and I'm sure they'd be more interested in having like a Brian Wu or a Bryce Miller than some of the other guys they have at the back end of that rotation. It doesn't have to be starting pitching. Like the Mariners and the Rays even might want guys that are younger. They might want guys at the lower levels of the minor leagues that we haven't even talked about really. We've said that Emerson and Cole Young should both be untouchable.
Yeah.
I do think, however, that it would take at least one of them in that deal.
Really? If we were to still try and go get Randy Arozarena?
If you're not including any of the big
yeah, if you're not including a pitcher, then yeah, I think, of course, that's a completely different conversation about package going back. And I think that, for me, is the biggest wrench in the plan. Because if you're the Rays trading with the Dodgers, obviously you're probably going to want some sort of pitching back with Glasnow. Unless it's like this 3-team deal, then who knows what the package really looks like at that point, because it just blows up to a bunch of different people moving in a bunch of different ways. And I don't know, because I agree with you. I don't think if Manny Margot gets traded to the Dodgers, I don't think that rules out Arozarena being traded, just because it is about maximizing Arozarena's value to the Rays. And in a trade package, you can still get very, very good value from him, even if you're not acquiring pitching in the deal for him. I think then it trickles down a little bit more to maybe an outfield prospect like Gabby Gonzalez, and a major league outfielder like a Cade Marlowe or a Zach DeLoach, like someone in that range that then just goes out and plays left field for them, because they've got Josh Lowe, they've got Jose Siri, they just need one more guy to really fill out there. Or you can do an infielder like that's already part of their team, like Brandon Lau goes out and plays left field again. So it is one of those situations where I think just the trade package going back to the Rays gets a little muddy, whereas previously it was pretty crystal. Like it was pretty cut and dry what was going to be going back in that deal from the Mariners' perspective. So I don't know. I'm just waiting for the Rays and Dodgers to figure out what's going on, because that happened last night, Tuesday night. It's currently Wednesday at 5:21, and we still haven't had any deal go through.
Yeah, it sounded like it was. I wouldn't say it sounded like it was close, but the names were being exchanged to the point where it was getting leaked. So usually that means, hey, this is, I wouldn't say imminent, but this is something that's deep in talks, and there hasn't been a word about it since. And so I think that, how long is Glass now under contract?
I think
this is final year.
This is his final year.
I don't know, man. I don't know what the Dodgers are going to give up, but $25 million for him when they already are not pushing the luxury tax, but are up there.
Mm-hmm.
And plus Manny Margot as well. What do you think there'd be like some sort of offsetting salary relief that going the other way?
With the Rays involved? Like,
then absolutely not. Right?
Yeah, because that's just not part of their business model. I think,
unless there's a 3-team deal.
Yeah, of course. I think the big thing that the Dodgers would just want out of it is the fact that at his peak, Glasnow is a Cy Young. Like, realistically, when he's healthy, pitching his best, he is a Cy Young. And sure, you could say that about 10 different pitchers. You could say that about Alek Manoah for all you want. But the track record shows a bit better for Glasnow. And if you're the Dodgers and you think the physical holds up a bit better than, say, other, teams that might be looking at Glasnow, maybe you take that risk. It's just not the original, but like part of some of the names I've seen, like Michael Bush's name getting thrown around, which to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because he's pretty close. I mean, he's basically major league ready, and that's just already a crowded infield in Tampa Bay. So I don't know if that makes sense. So I honestly think facilitating this deal for the Mariners could be beneficial in a certain way. It's just how they fit into that is interesting, but also kind of concerning, because I could see them going in with good intentions and then ending up with like Chris Taylor and Manny Margot in some capacity, and having given up some pretty good talent for guys that realistically don't push the needle a whole lot, like in return. That's my like that's like my pessimism like coming out, like,
dude. Okay, so how pessimistic I am about this team right now.
Yeah,
you and I talked about it yesterday a little bit.
I was surprised,
dude. It like the Jung-Hoo Lee contract just killed me inside. Mm-hmm. And like the fact I was so sold on Jung-Hoo Lee, and it just felt like he was going to be a Mariner. And the fact that he signed this big deal with the Giants, it killed me. It really did. The Mariners fan in me. It's like, with everything else going on, and now we're starting to see things start to move. The free agency, slowly still, but it is starting to move, and it just kills me inside to know that the Mariners are playing zero part in this
so far. But that how much of that is really going to change, right? Like, that's
right.
I think
after everything we've heard, everything we've heard, why should we even expect them to do anything? And they don't have a good team right now. We know that this team sucks right now. This is an 85 win team at best.
Currently. Yeah.
At their peak.
Okay.
I would call this more of a 78 win team right now.
Like on the lower end of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the Zips projection came out, and we don't even want to talk about it that much, because like, we shouldn't think that this is the final team right now. But a lot of the signs are pointing us in that direction, and there's a couple places to upgrade in that situation, and Jung-Hoo Lee would have been a great upgrade in that regard. And I was very early on like Jung-Hoo Lee carrying that torch. Like, I want him on the Mariners. I made the specific video about it. In that video, I said 4 years, 60. And then if you're the Mariners, you have to go probably a little bit higher to like 4 years, 72, which is just under the 6 years, 113 that he got. I think it averaged out to like 18.3 a million a year. 4 years, 72 is 18 exactly. And so I don't know, maybe, for whatever reason, he wants to be in center, or
My problem is, like, they didn't sign him. Okay, I get it. It's the fact that we heard nothing at all about them even being in the sweepstakes.
yeah.
Like, we didn't hear a damn thing about them having a meeting with Jung-Hoo Lee or, what have you. And I get it. The Mariners usually play their cards pretty close to the vest. But with everything that we've heard, it sounds like the Mariners are trying to get their names just out on everyone. Well, we're looking at Justin Turner, JD Martinez,
Yamamoto's
Tyler
right
O'Neill.
there.
Yeah, Yamamoto. And it's like we heard nothing about we heard nothing about Jung-Hoo Lee, and it just makes no sense. Like, I understand that he might want to stay in center, but if you're the Mariners, how do you at least not check in? And maybe they did. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think they ever would have gone there to that amount of money?
Probably not. Realistically, for a guy that hasn't seen it, like, the issue with Jung-Hoo Lee in terms of projecting him into like a major league roster, I guess, is the KBO is a step below AAA to a lot of people. And sure, the highest people in the KBO have seen good success in the MLB, but I just don't think they would have gone more than like $65 million. And it's not, I don't think they would have gone 6 years. I think the 6 years, obviously there's an opt out for him after the first 4, but I could have seen 4 years, like 65 million realistically as like their highest. And to know that they needed to go to probably 75 million if it were to stay at 4 years, I don't think, especially with the operating cost constraints and margins that they have to work within, that's their entire budget, if that's really what is true about their budget this offseason. And so with the money and how the market started shaping for him, for Jung-Hoo Lee, I just don't think it was ever going to happen. Even as hopeful and optimistic as I was in on him, I could not bring myself to realistically see a shot for it.
I think that if the Mariners would have gone out and signed Jung-Hoo Lee, I feel like it would have at least been a sign that maybe they are not under these budgetary constraints we think they are of only 20 to 25 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that you could put it all into one player at this offseason. At this point, you can't, because you have so many holes left to fill. I mean, if who is it right now? Like, in the outfield, is it Canzone and Marlowe, or
pretty
Deloach?
much.
Are those the two guys that are
Cade Marlowe, Dom Canzone, Sam Haggerty's going to see regular time, Taylor Trammell. So it is a flurry of names that should not be penciled into your opening day roster as a guarantee.
Yeah, right. So I think that it would have been at least a sign that, hey, maybe they have more money to spend than we thought they did. But everything is pointing towards the fact that they don't. Like, there's not a single thing that they're talking about, that we have heard rumors about, anything that says that they have more than $25 million to spend. And the MLB reporters throughout all of baseball have been basically saying how much of a shame it is and how stupid this is for baseball, for the fans, and for the sport. So first, we're going to start with Jeff Passan, who was on the flagship station of 710 Seattle Sports with Brock and Salk. And he said basically what we have all been thinking. This just sucks. It's a shame. The Mariners window is now, and the ownership group is not giving them the opportunity to go out and fill these spots the way that they should be able to. And when he was asked, I think this is probably the most interesting topic here. When Passan was asked, how do the Mariners go out and fill out this roster with $20 to $25 million, he just laughed and said, you can't.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Not honestly, not really. Same. I don't think that it's impossible, and I don't think that it's a you can't scenario. I think that there is opportunity to go out and find 2 players within those that would be immediate upgrades over your guys that you're going to go out and field right now. Whether the front office and ownership see that and are like, okay, yeah, let's go do it, that's neither here. That's not part of this conversation, I think, because that is the big variable in whether or not, like, there are upgrades to be had. Of course there are. Of course there's you. It's not like Jorge Soler is gonna cost you 20 million a year. He might get you damn close to it, but if it's 15 million a year, and say you've got 20 to 25 million, let's play on the upper side there, then you still got 10 more million to spend. You're telling me Rowdy Talese signed for 1 year, $3.25 million or whatever it was with the Pirates. You're telling me you can't go sign, say, Carlos Santana to be your everyday DH for like $8 million if you really wanted to. Like, sure, is that the most like lucrative idea? Is that the most sound person to go out and get to fill out parts of this roster? Probably not. But if we're like looking at these guys that you have to, I think, place your money smart with, then yeah, there's people that you can go out and fill the roster out with. Is it going to be the same level of production? No, and maybe that's where the no you can't comment comes from, is that you can't replace Teo, Gino, Kelenic with two guys within $25 million. And maybe that's the larger argument, the larger comment. But to say that you can't go out and upgrade over the people that are on your roster right now with that money involved, that just it seems lazy to me.
Yeah, and I think we've really come a long way from him calling us greedy.
You know, honestly, I saw that he made these comments last week or whenever it was, and I felt I don't want to say betrayed in any way, but I felt like he is the last person I wanted to hear say it. Because of the comments he made about being greedy last year, whatever. You could call it character development. You can call it, growth. It was I would have rather any other MLB reporter said it. Personally.
Interesting. Okay. My thoughts on it. Thank you so much for asking. I disagree with it completely. I think the way that it was asked to him was, can this lineup be better than last year's for under 20 to 25 million dollars? Obviously, you can upgrade over who's on the field now. Yeah. In my opinion, it's not hard. But over last year, you can upgrade. I mean, Teo and Gino, I love them to death. They weren't great last year. They weren't anything special. And it all comes down to their willingness to get creative, because you can do it. Not even it's not even that difficult, but it has to be through the trade route. You don't have the capital to go sign free agents right now to make this team better than it was last year in a meaningful way. And that's where I think it comes into play, the trades with the Reds or even with the Rays, like we were talking about. Those are the avenues that you can take to make this team meaningfully better than it was in 2023 for under 20 to 25 million dollars. If you're telling me that if you go out right tomorrow and you get Spencer Steer, right, you're not better in some position than you were last year. You are. Yeah. Immediately. And you get Randy Arozarena. He was better than Jared Kelenic.
Better than Teo.
Already an upgrade. Yeah. So yeah, you can. And I just think that the way Passan was looking at it is he was only looking at it through free agency, through that lens, and doing it through a trade is, I think, the only avenue that this makes sense. Now, it's much more difficult because obviously it takes two to tango. Are these teams willing to even trade these guys? We don't know. We have no idea. And so if the Mariners can't get the other teams to play ball, then sure, it's impossible. But more often than not, you can find a trade partner, especially when you have the guys that you have to trade. Now, my favorite punching bag, Jon Heyman, came out and had said that, basically echoed the similar comments about how much of a shame it is when you have Julio Rodriguez, J.P. Crawford, Cal Raleigh, etc., and great pitching staff. How, it's bad for the sport. It truly is. When you're fielding a team that has this much star power, but you're just not filling it out, and it is therefore non-competitive. What did you think about Heyman?
Honestly, the last person I thought I would have had a respectable take from was Jon Heyman this offseason about the Seattle Mariners, because notoriously he's just, hated on the Mariners for, I don't want to say valid criticisms, but criticisms that I can kind of wrap my head around. And this is one where we're very much so wrapping our head around the fact that the Mariners can add to this team. And
the tweet is still my Twitter profile banner.
Yeah. So. The plan one.
The plan tweet. Yeah.
So it's a very interesting offseason when you've got Jon Heyman kind of championing the ideas that your team can be better, and it's a shame that they're not. Because he's a guy that is just notoriously hated on the Mariners for whatever reason. And this, albeit, is I want to say hate, but it is kind of, poking, not like poking, I don't know. It's at the expense of the Mariners, his comments, but it's in the vein of they could be better. There should be hope, but there's not. And so
I mean, everything he's saying is true is the problem.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like Ken Rosenthal. Like it's three huge MLB reporters just saying what everyone's thinking. I mean, and Divish had a great article from the Seattle Times.
Mhm.
Like I want to say, was it yesterday or was it today? I can't remember. Just there's a lot of just media in general that is trying to push the Mariners in the right direction. And it's just they're refusing, it seems like. It's like I don't want to say they're quiet quitting the offseason, but like nothing's happening. And they're
Mhm.
not it doesn't seem like they're willing to do anything about it.
And let me make one thing clear. Joe and I aren't happy about this either. Like, for what it's worth. We're just as mad as everybody else is about what is going on this offseason. And so when we make a video, for example, about, hey, Mariners can make this trade for someone on the Reds, I think that we're all pulling the rope the same direction as the Heymans right now and the Passans of the world. We're not happy that this is what we have to talk about this offseason, instead of the Mariners actually making moves. Like, this sucks. I would rather talk about the Mariners had a meeting with Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Yeah.
But instead I'm talking about the fact that John Heyman sympathizes with Mariners fans. That's what there is to talk about this offseason right now. Sucks.
Dude saw it sucks.
Saw it. Suck. But you know what doesn't suck? The Mariners prospects, Joe.
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, BR Walkoff, this is completely random for what we were supposed to talk about, had the Mariners in the top 10 for their farm systems. BR Walkoff's not really a great, I think, I want to say, they've had some pretty poor takes in the past. But seeing the Mariners in the top 10, very good. And they were considered a, bottom 10 farm last year. I think people are starting to realize how well the team has drafted and developed in the last couple of years. And going along with the excitement of just prospects in general, MLB announced the spring breakout, which is a exhibition game between two teams and their top 20, top 25 prospects, however you kind of want to mash it all together, because some guys might not be there. They're on the 40 men, or they're already participating in regular spring training, or what have you. In general, it is more eyes on the stars of the future of the game, essentially. And so the Mariners are slated to play against the Padres in this on Friday, March 15th during spring training. So if it's a doubleheader that day with a regular spring training game, that's sick. But expect Harry Ford, Cole Young, Cole Emerson, Lazaro Montes, like all those guys that we've just talked about plenty on this channel. Like, we're hopeful for the future for them. They're all going to be on one roster all at the same time, which is, I think, what's exciting, because it's going to be guys from different levels of the game. And, like Tyler Locklear's going to be in that lineup. Maybe Jonathan Clase, but like that's an interesting one because he's on the 40 man and like maybe he's in spring training regularly. Like, I don't know. But overall, I think it's just exciting in general because I believe a lot in the Mariners prospect class currently. And Colton, who are you fielding in that game positionally? I think like there's ones that we can agree upon, like Harry Ford catching.
Yeah, I think the infield for the most part, except for who are you putting at third?
So you've got a choice between Ty Pete or Michael Arroyo, I would say.
Probably Michael Arroyo at third, and then DH Pete maybe.
Yeah, Ty Pete was DHing a lot in Modesto, so that's definitely, I think, that's probably where they'll go. Outfield, I mean, you've got Gabby Gonzalez and right. If you want to put, who's going in, or maybe in left, and then Lazaro and Gabby are the corners. Center is the interesting one because I mentioned Jonathan Clase, whether or not he'd just be regular spring training, what have you. But like, are you putting Johnny Farmelo out there?
I'm sure it'll be like similar to a regular spring training game, like a guy plays an inning or two, and then comes out. Obviously, 20 people on the roster, so they're going to play quite a bit. It'll be interesting, like you said, with like Clase, for example. Like, will Deloach be there? Because he's still technically a prospect, but like also he's on the 40 man, and like he'll be playing in big league camp. So if it's going to be a lot of guys from the lower levels, then sure, we'll see like Teddy McGraw, for example, or
newly acquired Cole Phillips.
Yeah,
because like as far as like pitching prospects, you've got Emerson Hancock. I don't think he'd be in that, and then maybe Taylor Dollard. But again, that's another situation. Like, I don't think he'd be there. So who you giving? Like, who's starting that game? I think it's up to 4 people between like Walter Ford, Cole Phillips, Michael Morales, Teddy McGraw would be like the 4 that I'd pick. And honestly, give the new guy a shot to start it. Why not? Go dice up Jackson Merrill and Ethan Salas or Salas. Probably Salas. It's probably how you pronounce it.
Yep.
You
It
know,
is.
I think,
Yep.
I don't know. It's exciting just to have more eyes on the prospects.
I completely agree with that. I do think this is a missed opportunity by the MLB, though.
Yeah,
And
you did say that you were a little underwhelmed.
yeah, I mean, cool. Like I think it's a cool idea. I think that it is an L that they're not making it even like a bigger event, like almost like a tournament, like where you have, I don't know, like double elimination or
Yeah.
something, and then they go around the Arizona Fall League. And I mean, screw it, even send them to Florida and play those teams. Who cares?
I mean,
Like,
eventually, like in the championship, like it would have to be like spring training,
yeah,
the Cactus League versus the Grapefruit League at
yeah,
some point. And I don't necessarily disagree with you. It is its first year, but also like
right.
the NBA just organized the in-season tournament and it was fine. I think there's still a little bit of confusion about what that is, but having something, I don't want to say similar, but a little tournament like that prior to the season, I think could be very, very exciting. It could generate more buzz in general around the younger guys in potentially the future of the MLB and just get them more recognizable as they're ready. Because sure, there's plenty of people that are viewers of the MLB right now that will recognize Jackson Holiday when he is making his debut for the Orioles because he is Jackson frickin' Holiday. Dude is going to be a star. It obviously helps, Matt Holiday is his dad. But regardless of that, like how many people around the MLB know Cole Young that are just
Right.
casual viewers? And this is just an opportunity for them to see what he is all about.
Is it though?
And
Because it's at 1 o'clock on a Friday.
yeah, and so like that is where I think your criticism
Like,
is
cool.
super valid. That it could be better, it could be bigger, and who knows? Maybe it will grow into a bigger initiative as it kind of like they flesh it out this spring.
I think it would just be so interesting to have a tournament and see like who has the best prospects. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't. You don't have to like base like prospect rankings around the league on this, but
Mhm.
just have can the Mariners' best prospects beat the Padres' best prospects? Cool, they did. Now they move on to go play the Diamondbacks' best prospects. Like it can be like I don't know how it would work out, like a 10-game tournament,
Yeah.
and then have the playoffs, if you will. Of like maybe you split it into little divisions. I don't know how it would be done. There's plenty of semantics, but I mean, one game and it's at a 1 o'clock on a Friday. Like most people won't even be able to watch it because they'll be at work.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I can watch the replay. And again, I'm not knocking this. I think it's a very cool thing that they're doing. And like you said, they could add to it in years to come. But right now, I just feel like they kind of missed the mark on really showing off the future of the game. But hey, that's why I'm sitting here,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that make way more money than me are making those decisions. And I'm glad you guys made the decision to watch episode 43 of the Hit It Here podcast presented by Bet Online. Now make sure you go check out this video on the screen now. I don't know what it is, but it's probably pretty cool. And go Mariners.